I was a tomboy. I wanted to be a spy. I think I am, and I will tell you why. Growing up with an older brother and lots of male cousins, I was exposed to sports, climbing trees, building tree forts, spying on people. There I was, crawling through the woods with my binoculars in one hand and walkie-talkie in the other. It was so exciting. I felt like 007. We would be out for hours and far away from our house. And then we'd hear in the distance my dad whistling for us. And that meant it was time to come home for dinner. And we had to let him know that we were coming back or we would be in trouble. That's what we did back then. There were no cell phones. And God forbid if the dog got home before we did. We had our places at the dinner table. And my brother was always the first one at the dinner table. And then during dinner, we'd actually even talk to each other. And my dad would ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? My brother would say, I want to be a famous actor. I said to my dad, I want to be a spy. And he said, that's ridiculous. Girls can't be spies. You see, back then, the boys had their jobs, and the girls had their girly girl jobs. And my mom really wanted me to be a girly girl, just like her. So there I was with my pink polka dot dress on, big bow in my hair, lacy socks, my Mary Jane shoes, climbing up to the tree fort. My poor mother, it was hopeless. When I was a senior in high school, my dad asked me, so, where do you want to go to school? What do you want to study? And I told him, I want to go to the Naval Academy, and I would like to study to be a spy. And he said, nope, you're not doing that. You are going to go to UConn, you're going to live at home and commute, and you're going to study marketing. Whoa. First of all, no way am I living with my parents, no. And then second of all, what's marketing? I ended up going to school, Pace University in New York. So at least I was one state away from my parents. I wasn't living with them while I was in college. But now I was living with my grandmother. So I remember my first semester of college, and I had to take a computer class. And back then, the computer classes were very different from today. So I had a basic programming class, which meant I actually had to type code in a key punch machine on key punch cards. Does anybody remember those? Key punch cards? If you don't, picture oversized index cards that you fed through a gigantic typewriter. And for every line of code, you had to have a card. So my 100 lines of hello world ended up being 100 cards. The sad thing is that these cards weren't labeled. So when I tripped and dropped my entire stack of cards, it took me the rest of the night to even get them back in order so I can process my job. After that, I figured, I've got finals coming up. I have to write 1,000 lines of code, and I really don't want to relive putting those cards back together. So I started numbering my cards so I didn't have a repeat of that incident. The other problem with this class was you had to wait in line to take your stack of cards and give it to the computer operator. And he would take your stack, feed it into the mainframe computer, and then hand you back green and white perforated printouts. If you had a short stack, that meant your program ran. But if he handed you the big stack, that meant my program failed, and I was up all night long, crawling around, going through every line of code to find every error in my program so I could fix it and repeat. I really hated this class. I hated computers. I just said, I can't wait till this class is done. After my first year of college, I figured, let me get a summer job. I wanted to make extra money. And back then, I had a boyfriend that worked at a bank down in the Wall Street area. So I figured, why not? I'll get a job near him. We can commute together, have lunch together. It would be so romantic. I was 18, what the heck did I know? I ended up taking the train downtown, and I get off the train, walk into the bank, and I walk into the HR department, a real HR department. And back then, they didn't even call it HR. They called it personnel, because there was a person there. So I get called into the office, and it's the senior vice president of the HR department or personnel, comes out, and she asks me to come into her office with her. Wow, a woman in charge. Too bad my dad's not here to see this. So I come in, she's asking me questions about my college and what I wanted to do, and then she says, I have something for you. Gets on the phone, and I'm sitting there waiting, and then she says, okay, I want you to go across to the other building, go up to the electronic funds transfers department, and meet with the vice president. Really, right now? Okay, so I went across to the other building, and the vice president greeted me. Tall, exotic looking, intelligent. She was Egyptian, spoke 7 different languages. See, this to me, my dad was wrong. He had it all wrong. So she starts asking me about my college and my interests. And then she points over to the corner, and there's a stack of those green and white perforated printouts. And next to the stack of green and white perforated printouts were those damn cards. Like my worst nightmare. And then little did I know that my worst nightmare would be an opportunity for me as a woman to enter into a male-dominated field of IT. After my first month, I finished what was like 6 months worth of work, and then I was bored. So I asked my boss if she can give me more work to do. Go figure that. She asked me if I wanted to work on an IBM personal computer. I said, wow, I was intrigued. I have no idea what an IBM personal computer is, but okay. She points to a box and said, there you go. Looking at the box saying, there I go what? So I figured, well, maybe it's in here. I open the box up, look in. It's full of electronic parts. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these parts? Is there a manual, instructions? No? Okay, I'll figure it out. Well, I did. I was so proud of myself when I actually built my own personal computer. In fact, everybody else heard I built this personal computer, and they all asked me to build their computers for them too. From that opened up another career opportunity for me, because now I was actually doing something that my male counterparts did. And I was asked to build a data center. And I felt so comfortable in that role. I was using my mind. I was interested in the topics, interested in diving in and fixing things and building and designing. And then, and I recall the time I was troubleshooting computer networks with my male colleagues, and there were some issues. And there were my male colleagues diving in. I took a step back and just looked at the situation, analyzed, talked to them a bit about some areas that we can make adjustments, fix the problem. You see, neither one of us are smarter than the other, men, women. We women think differently. That's why we actually do well in the IT industry. Moving forward, I teach computer science classes, and unfortunately, there's still not enough women in IT. I told my class, yes, when I started, I remember the first time I went to a computer expo. It was Interop up in San Francisco. And back then, there were hardly any women. In fact, really, there were no women in the workshops. It would be me and all these men. But they had a bunch of women that were around the expo floor, and these women were hired as models to hand out brochures. So I'm this young person walking around the expo, really excited because it's fascinating, all these big signs and all these computer parts that I love, and the programs running. And I was waiting at one expo for the program to start. They were going to start a demo. Now, I'm not going to name the company because I don't want to disclose the company for their embarrassment. But I'm standing there waiting, and some guy comes up to me and rudely says, hey, honey, give me a brochure. I'm like, excuse me? I don't have any brochures for you. He's like, you were paid to do this job, so do it. I'm like, I'm telling you, I don't have brochures for you. So he goes off, grabs the guy in charge, brings him back. This guy starts yelling at me. you're paid to hand out these brochures, so do it. I said, excuse me, I'm a paid guest. I was here that I was waiting for your demo to start, but I think I'm not going to stay. These two guys go off in a huff, no apology, none. I'm like, okay. As I'm walking away, I see their computer on display, ready for the demo. I walk up to it, do a little hacking, and made a few adjustments, just a few. As I was making my getaway, my boss comes up to me, and he says, hey, why don't you stay for the demo with me? And I'm like, okay, I'll stay. And so I'm waiting for the demo to start, and they start going, and it fails miserably in front of everybody. My boss looks at me and said, what'd they do to you? Wasn't the first time, huh? I told my class this, and they were just like, wow, can't believe you did that. I looked at them too, and I said, hey guys, I'm looking at the class, and they're all men. So what did you do, scare away the women? And they always think it's funny. In one of the classes, I was talking about social media and how unsafe social media is, especially Facebook. One of my students gets up, my Facebook account is secure. Oh yeah, really? Okay. So he's bragging to the rest of the class about how secure his Facebook account is. I get on the computer, I put it up on the projector screen. There's a Facebook page, and I said to him, is that your Facebook page? He turns around, looks at it, and is shocked. What? How did you do that? Told you, I wanted to be a spy, and I think I am.